Within my lifetime, I have managed to witness the most delusional or the most pretentious believers, people that just won't let it go when they are proven wrong or when their belief system is proven faulty. And I believe this is literally not just the illusion of them being intellectual, but it's the disillusion of their dedication. They think that being dedicated to fantasies will fulfill them. It'll make them feel full, right? They think that being intellectually dishonest rather than having intellectual integrity and honesty is the better way to go because they feel comfort. They hate the discontent of the truth. The truth doesn't make them feel all fuzzy and good inside because they didn't want the truth. They wanted comfort. They wanted something to hold and hug on. But that's not what reality is based off of. Reality isn't based off of things that make you feel fuzzy. Reality isn't based off of things that make you feel good. Reality is based off of reality. What is just what it is. If you don't like what it is, well, you cannot like reality, but reality is going to be reality. And the reality of a lot of things are undeniable. For example, I have managed to study for around 15 years theology or the ancient Near Eastern theology, and I've managed to decipher many things. I've read many texts, I've read many inscriptions, I've listened to hours of lectures, I've taken long sets of notes. And at the same time, I'll meet people that know nothing, that know next to nothing. They've never went to Bible study. They've never read the Bible. They've never looked at the Hebrew. They've never seen anything else outside of what they were taught in church. And even then, they just go and switch denominations and go to a different type of church when they think that they are getting anything different. But they're not getting anything different. They're not even reaching anywhere near where I'm trying to reach. And it's crazy to say that because I've always believed that if people follow the truth, they will find what they are looking for. They will find the answer. They will find, they will find fulfillment in that. They will find their destiny. That is what they need to be fated to find, which is the truth. But instead, people find the truth and they find it a little troubling. And then they get troublesome about the truth. Now, all of a sudden, when I tell people the origin of Jesus, and say, well, it doesn't make sense for many reasons. It doesn't make sense for many reasons to be calling on the name of Jesus when you know the actual name of the person or entity or being that you are trying to call upon. Meaning, if my name is John, right? If my name is John and somebody calls me Johann, but we know that my name is John, but you're calling me Johann instead of John. And let's even flip it. If my name is Johann and somebody is calling me John, and they said that the only reason they were calling me John is because they didn't know the origin of my name. They didn't know what my name was. All they were taught was that my name was John. They didn't know it was Johann. They didn't know John came from Johann. And let's even say that name literally was the basis of their belief in them being saved, meaning their salvation was based off of them saying that name and knowing that name, as the text says in the Bible, right? That every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that Yeshua is the Christ or Yeshua is Lord. How are you confessing that when you're saying Jesus is Lord? Nobody until around 400 to 500 years ago had ever at all said the name Jesus. It had never been uttered, which means before the 1600s and 1500s AD, we know that he was called Isos in the Greek to Latin translations. But we know that this is based off of Yeshua or Yahashua. So why do we sit here and make loopholes and try to make concessions for Jesus when we know the actual name? If it is truly a divine name, if this is truly your God, imagine telling your God, you know, I know how your name is actually pronounced. I know what your name actually is. I know that it says to specifically call on that name, but I'm going to say my iteration. I'm going to say a different iteration of it. And my iteration is going to be so late in the game that the person, y'all do realize Yeshua would have never heard the name Jesus, and possibly not even the variant of Isos that you are thinking of and that you are pronouncing today. He wouldn't have known Jesus. He would have known himself as Yeshua or Yehoshua or Yahashua. That is his name. And these names have meaning. That is why they are called these names. These names are pertaining to certain things. Yeshua or Yehoshua means Yah saves. Yah will save. It means that Yeshua is a savior, right? That's the whole point of Abrahamic faith or Christianity, for instance, is that Yeshua is a savior. While the Jews are still waiting on Emmanuel or some type of Messiah, while the Muslims are still waiting on the Mahdi, or we know that the biblical text says that Elijah is supposed to come back, and people think that that was John. While people are still waiting on particular things, right? Why is it that we ignore this one factor? That we don't care about what we call these beings. We'll even chalk it up to just God. God is a word. It's a title. It's not the being. The being has a name. For example, the God of the Abrahamic faith is supposed to be Yahweh. So why are we just saying God? Why are we just saying the Father? These meant multiple different things in the ancient Near East, in deep antiquity. The ancients knew many different fathers. They knew many different most highs. They knew many different gods, but we know that the Israelites are specifically at sometimes talking about El, aka El Elyon, and sometimes they're talking about Yahweh, and they talk about other gods. They talk about the Elohim, because Elohim is God's plural. Elo meaning Eloah, Him, Im. The Im is the suffix that denotes that this is a plural. The plurality of Eloah is Elohim. So we see that there are clearly gods. And if there are more than one God, and these other gods are on similar levels or tiers, or you can say that they are kin or peers to Yahweh and are subservient to El Elyon and Elot, or El and Asherah, or Il and Atherat, if we know that this is the case, and possibly Dagon and Baal Hadad, but if we know that this is the case, why go backwards? Why go backwards in terms of why step back when you have moved forward and learned where these things actually come from? You know where Easter comes from. You know why the weekdays are called what they call. You know where the Sinai, where Moses saw Yahweh's back. We know that that's hinting at a moon god. We see them hinting at Baal Hadad when they talk about Yahweh riding the clouds. We see all these parallels. Why act ignorant? Why choose to be lacking in your knowledge? Why choose to step back and say, well, I'm just going to be a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew, when you know Allah comes from Eloah? It comes from Il Ilah. And if you can't understand that Il Ilah comes from the God Eloah, I mean, I don't know what else to do for you. We show you the linguistics. Scholars show you. Students like me show you. We show you many things. I show you the history. I go into the old tablets. I can go into all of those things. I have tons of books. But it doesn't matter to someone that is not a truth seeker, but they are just trying to seek themselves. There are a lot of selfish people that seek God for their own personal benefits. There are a lot of selfish people that want Jesus to save them because they think that they are special. There are a lot of selfish people that think God is getting their enemies and attacking their enemies, and that the enemy, the devil, is after them. Even though I've proven to some of these people that the devil is not after them. God is not out here to get your enemies. If God is a real deity, if there are really gods out here that have created the heavens and the earth and all aspects of our reality, you are not understanding this exponentiality correctly. You are not understanding your existential crisis correctly. You are not understanding where you stand in relation to a deity. And I don't understand how you can be so big on yourself. This is arrogance. This is the ego. This is your pride. This is you being narcissistic too. Because imagine praying to this God that you think is trying to save you, is battling your enemies, is battling the enemy that is coming for you also, though other enemies are also coming for you, but they are sent by the enemy, but then God is also battling the enemy. It makes no sense. But imagine you thinking all of that, but then there's someone starving that is praying and begging just for God to send them scraps. Starving, praying, and begging just for God to save their life, save their child, save their wife, save their parents, save somebody in their family, save somebody that they know, save somebody that they see in poverty, see suffering. There are people that even care about animals more than some people that believe in God. If I find atheists and agnostics and deists and theists that aren't Christian, Muslims, or Jews, and they care more about animals than Christians, Muslims, and Jews, I don't find Christians, Muslims, and Jews to be that convincing, because they believe that their God created the heavens and earth and all the animals and all the fowl of the air and the fish of the sea. But then they also believe that they can torture and suffer these animals. These animals can suffer. They can eat these animals. But we see that the Nazarenes or the Nazarites were vegetarian. We see that some of the earliest Christians or some of the earliest sects that followed the text, the Israelite or the Judaic text, were vegetarian or vegan. They don't like that fact, though. They don't like the fact that Yeshua rejects eating meat at the Passover and that we're supposed to stop sacrificing animals, but they're still sacrificing animals to themselves, not even to another God, but then they pray to God over their meal. You don't realize you're doing the same thing that has been despised by other people that are more spiritual, more religious, or just as spiritual and just as religious as you are. Why is it that Jainists, Buddhists, Hinduists, and all other types of peaceful type or peaceful adjacent type religions or types of the theologies or walks of life or belief systems, why is it that they can be more understandable and understanding? Why is it that they can be more accepting to animals or to people that are poor? They don't have to point the finger at somebody in poverty and say, oh, you were cursed by Satan, or oh, Yahweh just removed his hand. So sometimes Yahweh is protecting people, sometimes not. I guess it's dependent on if you believe. Maybe it's dependent on what you received. Maybe it's dependent on if you say the name. Or is it dependent on if you read the text and you kept the laws and commandments? You do realize there are 613, sometimes less, sometimes more. There are 613 laws. Christians don't follow those 613 laws. They choose 10. And the 10 that they choose are 10 out of 20 that are called the commandments that were given to Moses. Jews, they follow a lot of these laws, but they don't follow all of them. They try to follow many of them. Muslims have many laws, but they come from Sharia law. What does that have to do with the laws that are given in the Bible? What does that have to do with the Torah? You have to ask yourself, why do you reject the truth and you claim you love God, but you don't want to give God a chance? You are giving your misconceptions a chance. You are giving your disillusions a chance. You are giving your fantasies a chance. Your God is your imaginary friend. Your imaginary friend is all powerful. He has an enemy. That enemy is after you every time you fail in life, every time you have a downfall, every time you have a dip, a curve, something, an offset. It's that enemy, isn't it? It's that enemy that your imaginary friend sometimes makes bets with, like with Yahweh making bets with Hasatan, one of the other gods, to play a trick on Job or to test Job. Like maybe that's what's going on with you, right? Your imaginary friend is testing you every time he's letting your evil imaginary friend get you. You're all good, all powerful, all knowing, you know what I'm saying? Omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. Imaginary friend is just allowing your evil imaginary friend to play tricks on you. And then eventually he's going to save you from your evil imaginary friend. I don't like this. I really don't. I don't like the simple fact that we believe in a devil and then there's no precedence for this. We believe in a hell and there's no precedence for this. We see no evidence for this. We see no evidence that a devil is some all evil being that is coming after you. We see that that is the definition of devil, but we know that what a devil is not what they say it is. The devil is based off of many different deities. So that means it's not even just one deity. Any other god that is opposing Yahweh or opposing your God, whatever you want to call your God, is a devil. It is Satan, the accuser, right? It is not who we mainstream people or who mainstream folks or modern lenses try to frame it as. Baphomet is based off of Muhammad. Beelzebub is Baal Hadad. Like all these figures. Like Hades is based off of Mot. There is no hell. There is only the pit and Sheol. Read your text. Or read your text correctly, should I say, because you don't like the contradictions. So you'll ignore the contradictions. But you don't like the older inferences, so you'll go for the newer inferences. So you got to pick a lane. Either pick the truth about the text, which means you're going to have to accept the contradictions and accept when they came into being and accept either the older attestation or the newer attestation. The older attestation is the ones that I accept. Because when you accept the newer attestation, you are dealing with conflation and elevation and cultural migration. You're seeing that theology is being migrated across cultures. You're seeing that it is evolving. They are being influenced by Greco-Romans and Babylonians and other surrounding nations that surround Canaan and even other Canaanites. The Israelites are Canaanites. We deny that too, though the evidence is out there. But denying evidence, denying the truth, tell me, how does it help you? How does it help God? How does it help your people? How does it help anyone? Do you feel good at night when you go to sleep praying to an imaginary friend when you could prove that your God is real? You could prove that God has antiquity, that God has a basis. You could prove Yahweh. You could prove El. You could prove Ashura. You could prove any of these gods, but you choose to instead prove yourself a willfully ignorant tool. A tool for who? The people that colonized you, the people that conquered your mind, the people that gave you dogma instead of data, the people that gave you religion instead of reality. You want to be spiritual? Be spiritual for real. Use your spirit, use your discernment, use your pattern-based recognition to understand when you have been duped, to understand when you have been hoodwinked. Stop believing lies. Lies leave a load, and the load leads to nothing. I'm sorry. If you think that this means nothing to me, if you think that, oh, he just so easily threw away Christianity, my parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, great aunts and uncles, great grandparents, great grandparents, all of my ancestry in the Americas, as far as I know, have been Christian or Muslim or Jew or Hebrew Israelite, whatever you want to call it. They have been under the Abrahamic umbrella. The Abrahamic faith has been their bread and butter. I'm not turning my back on it. I'm revising it. I'm trying to take it back to its roots. I'm trying to understand what my ancestors believed in so I don't disappoint them, so I don't let them down in their belief system. So I give their beliefs a chance instead of giving myself a chance and just only believing something that I want to believe. I'm trying to give them a chance, give their beliefs a chance, rejuvenate what they claimed and what they prayed to and what they died believing they were going to receive. I'm trying to rectify that. I'm trying to reconcile with that, with the lies that they were left with, the lies that they passed down, that they unfortunately were given and duped into believing. I'm trying to undo that and reveal the doctrine of truth to further generations that are coming that will now correct this path, and we will one day find the truth and live in truth. And you should do that too. For your family's sake, for the sake of the gods, for the sake of a God, for the sake of the people, for the sake of your own sanity. Lean towards the truth and stop being delusional. Don't be a fool. Don't be a tool. Be you. Be true. You know what it do. This has been the Bonafide Truth. I'm Bonafide Soldier. And I'm going to always try to tell you the truth or tell you my most educated speculations. I'm never going to try to lead you somewhere where you won't find anything, where you won't be able to find something in antiquity that you can grab onto. There is foundations to everything. Find the foundations and then find out the fundamentality of it and then find out the functionality of it. When something is foundational, when something is fundamental, when something is functional, then you can feel free to believe in it. Have a nice day.